serve the public, and then there's people that help that system give us really good candidates. And Nomi just does above and beyond. Nomi and his friends, and the people from the Pakistani community have just done a lot for the Democratic Party here in Texas and in Houston, and we just can't say enough about his good work. And hey, let's get the Democratic convention here in 2020. And when we do, there's going to be no more winning for the bad guys. So, and Nomi's going to do everything he can to help in that. That's why I'm glad that we have Mr. Ellison here, and wonderful service. And we need to help him with his Attorney General race, and I'm very happy to do it. My friend.
Thank you everybody for coming out on a Friday evening. I know everybody's got lots of other things to do, and we're very excited to have a great two great United States Congressmen here tonight, Congressman Al Green and Congressman Keith Ellison. I want to just begin by thanking my wife, Kamala, who always lets me do these events. This is, I don't know, probably the 50th fundraiser we've done in 5 years we've been in this house, and probably the 80th event, because we do a lot of charity events, but she's always there to support us and support the community, so thank you so much for again. Let's talk about the work that we do in the community. We're just two people, we're just one family. It's because of people that are here today and the generosity of all of our friends that whenever we call upon you to give money, you never ever refuse. So I want to thank you, and I want to especially recognize the hosts for tonight, without whom this event would not be possible, starting with our community leader and great political consultant, Mustafa Tamiz. Someone who's on the front lines every day. This guy's on Fox News almost every day. Representing the Democratic interest, putting our positions out there for people that are opposite of our political spectrum to understand our viewpoints. And Mustafa, thank you for the great job you do for us. Also, I'd like to recognize Scott and Kim. Where's Kim? Hey, Kim and Scott are just wonderful Democrats and overall wonderful people. They're always there for the Democratic community. They're always there for me. Sometimes I'm in a hole because I wrote a check that I can't cash as far as an event is concerned, and I can always rely on Scott and Kim to come through and write a bigger check so we can meet our goals. So thank you for always being there. We have a young, powerful, effective, persuasive attorney here tonight. And his name is Husain Hadi, and he's standing there in the background with his beautiful white robe. Husain is an exception because he's young, but he sees the big picture. And although lots of young attorneys who are making a lot of money like to spend it on themselves, he's someone that is always calling me and asking me, Nomi, what can I do? How can I get involved? And he is also one of the underwriters for tonight's event, along with Rosie. Thank you, Sam. The other thing I'd like to do, and I had to write this down, I'm sorry, because we are blessed tonight to have so many awesome candidates running on the Democratic slate. And I want to be sure that I recognize all of you that are here tonight, beginning with two people who are running for Congress. Both of them were in races that were solidly Republican, but slowly and surely, with their hard work and perseverance and leadership, those races are slowly looking more like they're going to flip. We have Todd Litton here. In North 1960. He's running for Ted Poe's old seat. If you have not had a chance to meet Todd Litton, please do so before leaving and see how you can get involved in his campaign. And then we have Shri here, Shri Kumar. And he is running 1,000 miles an hour. He raised more money in the last quarter than in the history of that Democrat. He's doing an awesome job. He's got the incumbent running scared, and anything you can do to help Tree. He's one of the hardest working and persistent. If you look up the definition of persistence in the dictionary, you'll see his picture. Because he's called me like 100 times. So he is very persistent, and that's one of the secrets to his success, and hopefully he will win.
Help Tree, help Tree.
Also, it's very brief that I'd like to recognize the candidates that are running for office for the civil benches here in Harris County. We have Natasha Lewis Payne running for the 55th. Carmen Garrison running for the 157th. Someone brought a fabulous pie. I think it's an apple pie or cherry pie. Scott Dollinger running for the 157th. We have Bo Miller here. Where's Bo? Running for the 190th. We have Forrest Julio here with his beautiful wife Melissa. Peter Davis is running for the 270th. We have Christine Weaves. We're going to do this. It's going to happen. And we have Donna Roth. Where's Donna? Donna Davis. We also have Lena. Where's Lena? Lena is here. Lena against Ann Emmett. If you've not met Lena, please meet her. And we have Bill McLeod. Where's Bill? So, without further ado, did I miss any elected official that's running? Go ahead.
You missed a candidate.
Who?
Leah Shapiro.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Leah.
She's running family.
The family. 315 Judicial District, Family District Court. So please meet with me after you have a chance. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce a very, very good friend of the trial lawyer community, of the Pakistani community, of the Muslim community, and of the greater Houston community. He is an outstanding congressman who is always on the front line, fighting the good fight, someone who is on the cutting edge of trying to get the president impeached. He's actually introduced articles of impeachment. Someone who is a good friend and someone who I'd like to welcome and introduce. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Al Green.
Thank you so very much for the very kind words. And thank you also for allowing me, you and your wife, to understand what it's like to experience heaven. I am exceedingly pleased with your choice in decor and the absolute wonderful palace that you have brought us into. So let's give Nomi and his wonderful I promise that I'll be brief because we have one that is greater than I that you should hear from. But I do think it appropriate to say a few things about something that I'm experiencing. Lately, I've been seeing blue. It seems that blue is coming over me. And I can see blue in Harris County, but I see it not only in the State House and the courthouse, but I see blue all the way to the White House. We have a great opportunity to change the paradigm in Washington, D.C. Let me move down to the reason I was asked to stand before you tonight. Dr. King reminds us that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We have to elect people who are willing to put their hands on the arc of the moral universe and bend it toward justice. So to all of you who are running for judgeships, I want you to know that you have a great challenge before you. But if you win, Harris County is going to be blue. So let's remember to I like to let people know this. The difference between our judges, the Democratic judges, and the judges on the other side, the difference is group think. You appear before a Democrat and you'll be judged on based upon who you are. You appear before the other guys, and this group think there's already an impression of who you are based upon the decision that the group has made. Democratic judges render individual decisions for individuals. One more hand for the Democrats. Memorial University Award Justice. Some time ago, I met Keith Ellison, and I was so impressed with him. He sits 2 seats over from me. Emmanuel Cleaver sits next to me, and Gwen Moore, and then Keith Ellison. I was immediately impressed with him because of his intellect. He is a studied and well-read person. He understands the issues. He understands the nuances of the issues. He has intellectual prowess. For that, I am grateful to have him on the committee. He also has the unique ability to blend well with people. He has worked across lines to get things done, but he knows the side of the line that he's on. He works with everybody, but he's still a loyal Democrat. For that, he deserves an expression of appreciation. He has chosen now to leave a seat in Congress. There are only 435 of us who can vote on the great issues of our time, all of them. There are some others who are given some privileges, but he's one of 435. And to give up this seat means that he understands that there is a greater opportunity to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice. He understands that those who serve as attorneys general, these are the people who can take our issues to the courts. These are the issues who can argue our cases before the bar of justice. These are the persons who will win the lawsuits that are going to make a difference in our lives for the rest of our lives. So I'm honored that he has chosen to run for Attorney General. But I want you to know this. I mentioned his intellectual prowess. I mentioned his giving up his seat in Congress. But here's the thing that I admire most about him. He has courage. There are many people who are part of the intelligentsia. When Dr. King was with us, there were other people with intellectual prowess comparable to his. There are many people who are well-read and well-studied, but few have the courage that Dr. King had. Few have the courage that Keith Ellison has. It takes courage. It takes courage to take on the great challenges of our time. It takes courage to take on a president who is unfit to hold the office. Yeah. This is the kind of courage he has. When we voted on the articles of impeachment, there were 66 Democrats who took on this challenge and had the courage to vote for the movement of those articles so that we could move to impeachment. Keith Ellison was one of those persons who voted with me on this. I will never forget that this brother had the courage, the unmitigated gall, the intestinal fortitude to say to the President of the United States of America, I will use Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution to eliminate you and remove you from that office. God bless you, dear brother. Please give us
All right, hey, peace everybody. Salam alaikum. For those of you who are of the Muslim faith, you know what salam alaikum means, but if you're not, it just means peace, and we're really happy to be with you. Thank you all for coming together. Mustafa, thank you for pulling this together. My dear friend of many years, you've helped me go to Congress 6 times, and I'm eternally grateful. The first time I ran for Congress, a person who of our faith background had never been in Congress before. So many of you remember that time when you helped me and you got me there, and it's been my tremendous honor to be serving in the U.S. Congress with my dear friend Al Green and many others, and Sheila Jackson Lee. But I came to a conclusion back on June 5th. June 5th, I came to the conclusion that I could do more for more people faster as Minnesota Attorney General than I could in Congress. Let me just give you an example. Right now, a fellow by the name of Ken Paxson, y'all know him? Has joined up with a guy named Wayne Stingent from North Dakota and another one from Wisconsin, and they are trying to strip away your protection from being excluded for a pre-existing condition. Right now, who here, I mean, I'm not gonna ask you if you have a pre-existing condition, because the truth is nearly everyone in this room might just have one, because some insurance companies have found you've got a pre-existing condition for things like acne or asthma or anything. And they're trying to say that we're gonna go back to the bad old days when you either will not get a policy or it'll be so high you couldn't possibly afford it. Now, who is defending the American people so that they can continue to not be excluded for having a pre-existing condition? Not the federal government. Trump said, well, we're not going to defend the law. Attorneys general are the ones who are stepping up to fight. Our friend Javier Becerra, I hope to join him, along with others, to defend the American people, and that is why I'm running for Attorney General. To defend people who are having their parents separated from children on this border. To defend people from deferred childhood arrivals program. To defend the internet. You know, Democratic Attorney Generals are suing to defend the internet. To stand up and fight for things that Americans need all over this country, no matter what your race, color, background, or origin is. Things that we just gotta be in the courts fighting for every day. This travel ban, this Muslim travel ban, I know many of us were disappointed to hear the Supreme Court's ruling when they ruled against it. But you should know that attorneys general across this country fought the first version of it and defeated it. Fought the second version and defeated that. And on the third one, the Supreme Court said, well, as long as the four corners of the executive order don't mention religion, it's okay. But we're not done, because if they apply it in a discriminatory way, we will see them right back in court the very next minute. So I want to tell you why it is that I made this decision. And I also want to just tell you this. There's some folks here who made this event, this tonight, possible. I already mentioned my dear friend Mustafa Tamiz. Let's hear it for him one more time. And I also just have to say to Nomi and Kamala and your wonderful family, thank you so much. This may be a palace, and it is. It's beautiful, is it not? Yeah. But you know what? It's just what they call home. And it's their retreat from the outside world. After a long day, this is where you come back to try to chill out, and you have very generously and graciously invited us here. So one more time, everybody. Yeah. Nomi, Kamala. Jabba, thank you for your awesome work over the years. It's here put together. So I hope you don't mind me telling the folks to hear believes, as many of you do, and I kind of do too, that Texas would be a great place for a Democratic National Committee. Now, at this point, that's my individual opinion. The committee will deliberate, but I've told him, and I'll say to you, that I think we would be very well advised to spend time with us. Guess who showed up, you guys? Sheila Jackson Lee. And also Ryan Zale. Is Ryan, where are you at, Ryan?
He's in Italy.
Well, I'm glad he's in Italy. You know his heart is here with us, so give him a hand too. Let me say, big thanks to Scott and Kim Chris, people who fight every day to make it better world. And Hussein Hadi. Where's Hussein? There he is back there. Thank you, Hussein, very much. And for everyone who's running for office, please put your hands in the air one more time. It is so cool. Support these candidates. Putting your name on a lawn sign and asking folks to vote for you is an act of faith, is it not? You know, I think it is a character building experience. You know, you can't be too sensitive or else you're gonna get your feelings hurt all the time. You gotta be ready to be told no, but if you are animated by a higher purpose and a burning desire to serve your fellow Texans, then you will run, you will help, you will serve, and that is what you guys are doing. Let's give a hand to all our candidates. I want to tell you, there might be some folks here who think, well, Keith, you know, you're running for Minnesota AG, why should we support that? Let me tell you, right now, one of the things that you see happening all the time is attorneys general combining their energies from various states, coming together to say, we're going to stand up for the American people. That is so you saw the so-called Muslim ban. Yeah. It was styled Hawaii versus Trump. Why? Well, because Hawaii was the lead plaintiff attacking that unfair, unjust, discriminatory policy along with a whole lot of other states. We need to look at some of these positions that are below governor, right? And stop writing them off. I mean, they're really important. I mean, whether it's Attorney General, Secretary of State is the chief election officer of the state. Yeah. You give that seat away, and you just might well kiss that election goodbye, because it's not who votes, it's who counts the votes, folks. Yeah. You know? So, I want you to know, and this is so critically important, the entire nation is watching you. The whole country knows about the critical nature of succeeding in Texas. We are, it's absolutely true. If Democrats win Texas, we will drive a stake in the heart of that machine that wants to take away your health care, pollute the environment, divide us up one from another, right? Take women's rights away. That machine, look, my dad was a Republican. I don't hate Republicans. I'm happy to be friends with any one of them. I'm talking about this party today is not your father's Republican Party. It has changed. It's not. Used to be they cared about fiscal discipline. Well, why did they just do a $1.5 trillion tax cut, which we don't have the money for, and we're gonna have to borrow the money just to give them that tax cut, which 83% of the benefits go to the top 1%. Why would we ever do that? I thought they cared about fiscal discipline. They don't. They used to say they cared about family values. I don't need to elaborate on that one. You know what I mean? But they used to say they were for the family. Everything you see out of this guy is anti-family. You can't even let your kids watch television because it's too obscene because of the president. So what is it that they stand for anymore? I have no idea. Crazy, for sure. But it's clear that certain themes have emerged. They stand for the idea that liberty and justice for all, they are not into that. Y'all heard liberty and justice for all before? We stand up on that House floor, do we not, Sheila, Al? And we put our hand on our heart and we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And when we wrap up that pledge, we say, and liberty and justice for all. And they're not into that all thing. They got except Mexicans, Muslims, any liberals, any unions, right? They don't believe in it. We have got to be the ones who, the patriotic ones, the ones who look at this nation and we see a nation of people who want to come together, who believe that we can educate every kid, who believe that in business ethics and accountability, do we not? Who believe that every senior ought to be able, after a long life of hard work, to look forward to retirement, and that their Social Security should not be just, taken over and dealt away on Wall Street. We believe that we ought to be stewards of the air and the water. Do we not? And yes, we need industry to be successful, but we need them to be also accountable. And my mother taught me that you got to clean up after yourself if you make a mess. And so should people in all industries, I think. What do y'all think? And so as a nation, as a state of Texas, and Minnesota, and all of us, commit to these values, if we'll say to ourselves, you know what, immigration is a good thing.
Yes.
You know, Albert Einstein was an immigrant and a refugee. You know what I mean? If we will embrace new Americans who rejuvenate this country, who are the most innovative and entrepreneurial and hardworking Americans, if we will reject people who will tell them that they don't belong and they're excluded, if we will reject people who say that religion should separate us, that color should separate us, and we will say that, you know what, solidarity and unity is resistance in this moment. It actually is an act of resistance to say that I am going to be arm in arm with my brothers and sisters, Muslim, Christian, Jew, Hindu, no faith at all. We're united. Yes. We're not letting anybody break us apart.
Right.
This is an act of resistance today. And so this gathering, this meeting is critically important. Look, it is August 3rd, less than 100 days till Election Day. Less than 100 days away of being able to put Sheila and Al in the majority so that they can say no, and they can actually drag these guys into some hearings to hold some folks accountable. Here's the thing. We all talk about Trump. We literally obsess on the yellow-haired man, or orange, whatever color he is.
Orange skin, yellow hair.
Right, there you go. But it's not even just him. Just the other day, you had Betsy DeVos refusing to allow these loan servicing companies to be held accountable. In a time when student education and student debt is skyrocketing. Right. Just the other day, you know, I don't have to tell you about Scott Pruitt and all his antics, corruption. But it's not just him. It's, you know, when we are in the middle of a affordability housing crisis right now. Is it easy to get rents, affordable rent in Houston nowadays? It's tough, right? For working class folks? Well, you would think that Ben Carson would be concerned about this problem. He's absolutely unconcerned about this problem. So it's not just Trump. It's all these other people who he's putting in place that are making that are taking away the ladder of opportunity, that are dividing Americans, that are not good environmental stewards, that don't believe that everybody has a right to educate themselves and develop their minds. It's all of these people. This is why your success right here in Harris County is so critically important. In 2016, you took it, didn't you?
Yep.
And your cousins up there in Plano and Dallas did a pretty decent job too, right? And let me tell you, you start keeping them building blocks coming, Texas is going blue, y'all. I see my friend Beto O'Rourke. Within 2 points of that other one. I mean, you know, he's as bad as Trump. Don't think that if he'd have won, he'd have been less bad as Trump. He'd have been as bad as Trump.
We don't say his name.
Well, you know, sadly, we all know who we're talking about, though, don't we?
Yes, sir.
The bottom line is, you all are leading the nation. You're literally offering patriotic service, saving the country by being active as you are. I'm going to stop talking now. Maybe we can take a question or two. But my point to you is this. You have sent me to Congress now 6 times. I've done all I could to do the best job I can. At this point, I think I can do more better service as Minnesota Attorney General. I will work with you to make sure that we protect the rights of all Americans. And if you will help me this one more time, the election is going well. Anybody want to hear about how it's going?
I do.
Yes.
I'll put it like this, there's been 4 polls. The last poll had me up 44% in the primary. I'm one of those guys who runs 5 points behind. I don't care what the count is.
Yeah.
Right? We run not to the tape, we run through the tape. Let me tell you, I'm an old track man, and I got beat by some boys from Texas in the 4x4 relay. And they run through the tape around here. You know, y'all don't know you got a tremendous track and field state, do you? Oh, yeah. You know. Let me also say that on the fundraising-wise, we've been matching up very well against our opponents as well. But in the general, they've already started signaling that they're going to try to divide Minnesotans on the basis of religion and race. And they don't come out and say it, but they kind of imply it. Saying like, oh, well, can you win statewide? You know what that means. That white communities in rural Minnesota won't vote for me. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I've been all over rural Minnesota. I've been all over greater Minnesota. And everywhere I go, people are much more concerned about their families, their health care, their student loan affordability. They're more concerned about all these other things than my particular demographic description. And I've been well received. We're going to do extremely well in greater Minnesota, you guys. I promise you. I'm gonna tell you why. Because one, people are good. And two, I'm going out there and meeting them every single day. I've been wearing my voice out in rural Minnesota, and we're spending a lot of time there. So I'm telling you now, we expect to be successful. I'd love to see a Democrat in the Texas Attorney General seat one of these days soon. We need it. We need the people. We need an army of lawyers out there fighting to uphold the rights of all Americans.
That's right. Everybody give to Justin Nelson.
Well, you heard Justin Nelson. So with that, I'm going to stop talking, but I would be more than happy to answer a question or two. But other than that, we got great company, and we got more folks to get to meet. So
Thank you. We'd love to hear from Sheila, so we're going to have Sheila speak. Keith is here for dinner, so we're going to have, during dinner, you're welcome to talk to Keith about anything you want. All the people that are running, I need you to stay, because there's a lot of press here. I want to make sure that we get pictures of everybody with the elected officials, because we want to circulate that in all the communities, so please don't skip out right at the end of the event. So, but please join me in thanking Keith one more time. If you haven't written a check, all of you that wrote a check, you got a little sticker from me. That means you can get your car keys back. If you didn't write a check, you're not going to get your car keys back until you write that check. So just keep that in mind before you leave. Two things I need to do before I introduce a very close friend of mine is we have one of our sitting district court judges, Frederica Phillips, here from the 61st District Court. She's doing a fantastic job, and if you've not had a chance to meet Judge Phillips, please do so before you leave. One of the reasons that we swept the judicial benches in 2016 was the support of all of you. But the labor unions were instrumental in helping us win in Harris County. And one of the leaders of the labor union, we are lucky to have here tonight, and I had the good fortune to hear him speak at a recent dinner event. And Claude, let me tell you, you knocked everybody's socks off. CWA does a lot of things under the radar that we don't hear about, but they're doing fantastic work. Keep it up, and would you please join me in welcoming and recognizing Claude? 6 years ago, I was at a dinner party, and I didn't want to be there. It was something my wife drugged me to. It was on a Sunday night, and I had to go to it. And I was sitting at a table, kind of by myself, because I didn't know those doors worked. Anyway, back to the story. So I'm sitting there, and one of my friends comes up, and he sits down next to me, and he said, "Hey, Nomi, I know you're involved in politics. I want to get involved in politics." And I'm like, "Okay, that's great. What do you want to do?" He's like, "I want to get involved in presidential politics." Now, this was back before the Democratic primaries even really started. I'm talking about 2014. And he sat down with me, and I said, "Okay, what do you want to accomplish?" He said, "Well, I want to be able to, I want to support Hillary, and I want to be able to call her on her cell phone and give her my opinions on stuff." And I'm like, "You want to do what?" He's like, "I want to know her so well so I can call her on her cell phone so that, I can tell her what I think about things." I'm like, "You don't understand how this thing works, all right? You're not going to get Hillary Clinton's cell phone number. She's with the same group of people that she's been working with back in the 90s when her husband ran in 92. So you're not going to break into that circle." He said, "Well, what do you suggest I do?" And I gave him some pointers. So what happened is that this man, if Hillary Clinton had 5 different events over 2 states in 2 days, He would go to every single event. He chartered a private plane and would be following her campaign plane to different events. It got so bad that people from Hillary's campaign actually called me and said, "Do you know this guy Tahir Javed? Because we think he's stalking Hillary Clinton." But it goes to his perseverance and persistence, because I'll tell you, at Hillary Clinton's birthday party in New York City, which is a very exclusive event, I wasn't even there. 2 people danced with her. One person was her husband, President Bill Clinton. And the second person was my friend, Tahir Javed. I love telling that story because he went from not being involved at all in a matter of 11 months to dancing with the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. So that tells you the greatness of the Democratic parties. Of anybody who's willing to work hard and get involved can get to that level. So would you please join me in welcoming
You should not share anything with your friends, okay? Well, guys, thank you very much. I know 1/3 of you had no choice, you are candidates. And the other 2/3, thank you for coming here. And this is Friday evening, I know we all have to leave, and like I have to go to a wedding too. So I'm going to be very brief. We are here today to support our dear friend, Congressman Ellison. He's a great person, pride for so many different communities, and you know, he got elected in 2007. We all celebrated the first Muslim to the Congress. Then I realized that he wanted to run for DNC, and he's making the speeches that he's going to give up his seat. And well, we only got few people where we can, you know, like feel a lot of pride while we're getting discriminated all the time. Then, you know, somehow I was happy that he lost, so he did not have to give up. Now, I heard a few months back that he's running and he's giving up his seat one more time. I picked up a phone and said, "Well, listen, why you don't like to be a congressman?" And then we had a great conversation. And then I realized that what he is moving forward is a lot. You know, not that being congressman he was not affected, that he can do a lot more for everyone who gets discriminated all the time. And I'm one of you guys from communities where either it's a travel ban, Muslim ban, and now the new thing we heard that it's a denaturalization task force, where they're gonna open every single file and see that, whoops, you did not put a dot on your deal that you're not citizen anymore. And the worst thing, now I would not call this is the worst thing, because Donald Trump is still in the House. So one of the worst things that you need an ID to buy groceries. Yeah. You heard that, right? Yeah. Right. Not because you have beer in it, right. Just a flat diaper, and you know, the pork chops and all this stuff. You need an ID for that. And this is how, that's why my dear friend Ellison said, don't waste your time. Just impeach him from the get-go. And that's why Sheila Jackson Lee traveled all over the country with me, without me, alone, and trying to convince all the communities all over that we cannot sit at home and watch this election on the television. We need to get out, we need to work hard, we need to make sure that Donald Trump does not. You know what, towards the end, our agenda was, you know, not to get Hillary elected. Our agenda was somehow Donald Trump doesn't get to the White House, because we knew that very well. Because if he gets there, we're going to have white supremacy. He probably have no problem with that. so we knew that it's going to be discrimination. We will get back to the time, the civil rights fight. We have to do it all over again. And that's what we are doing today. We are fighting because, you know, my wife, Rabina, she's sitting here. She went to get a grocery and basic foods, and the girl hugged her because she went 2 months after. She hugged her, she's like, I thought you got deported. You know, this is how people thinking of you. They are worrying about you. You didn't go back to shop. They said, you know, everyone is thinking that way. Now, for that, we have no choice to support our candidates. We have no choice to support our leaders. You know, where Nomi goes, you know, don't think this is the last event. We have to do another one for Al Green and Sheila Jackson right here on this same spot. So we definitely do that, and I would all of you welcome you to please. She was in Florida yesterday. I know that. I was you know, I was involved with some of the events down there, working day and night for us, for our democracy, for our rights, for our children. And she just came from the airport, and I appreciate Sheila, you and Al to taking the opportunity. Please come here and speak.
Whenever you are asked to come before dinner, you know you're in trouble. So let me, first of all, thank the host and hostess. There's the host and hostess. Let me thank you. I've seen you over there. Let me thank you. You can sit. I saw you. Thank you so very much for always opening this beautiful home. Let's give them another big applause. And here, thank you. And I know that you did not mean it, but Al and I think that we are minimally important in the United States Congress, and we're delighted that our colleague has served in the United States Congress, which has now propelled him to run for the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, and he got his land leg in the United States Congress. So give them a very good hand. He is not in my eyesight because he's taking pictures, but in any event, Keith, I just want to, we give out a lot of proclamations, and so right now I am proclaiming Keith Ellison the next Attorney General of the great state of Minnesota. Allow me just to say a few words. I am glad, Nomi, that you acknowledge Claude Cummings. I would just say that nothing happens in Harris County or the state of Texas, and really, vastly across the nation, without Claude Cummings and the communications director. All of the candidates that are here and all of those who are contributing, you are doing the right thing. It is amazing that we have Justin Nelson. I want to acknowledge him because one of the platforms of Democrats who have a better deal and not a raw deal is to clean up corruption. We're not even going to talk about the swamp. We're going to just say get corruption out. And what that means is that we want an Attorney General in the state of Texas to match the Attorney General in the state of Minnesota and speak for the people of that state. Because there's a lot of power in the Attorney General, as Nomi knows, as a very fine lawyer, and lawyers and judges can rise up and deal with policies. They can even do some form of immigration. Because some states, even though immigration is a federal responsibility, there are some levels of which the Attorney General of the state can do. And frankly, they have been amazing on the Muslim ban. They have been amazing on climate change. They've been amazing on issues on the voter ID law. Of course, our Attorney General has been on the other side, and really wants no one to vote in the state of Texas, except the 2 or 3 that might vote for him. So we are looking for the opportunity to have a Attorney General that will clean up corruption and that will not be corrupt, and that is our Democratic candidate and the Democratic candidates that are in this room. I need to hear somebody. Just a snippet. Let me thank Congressman Al Green, because you may have seen yesterday, Al Green, you may have seen some individuals who had to travel to the White House from the faith community, sitting around the table, and as we told our colleagues, hold your horses on the prison reform bill, because it wasn't to reform prisons. We didn't ask defense lawyers or judges how to write the bill. It was written inside the White House to be used during the election and to be able to cite to the African American community that this is an administration for you. There it was yesterday with a scene, you might have caught it late night on CNN, of those individuals, members of the faith community, which I do not intend to make comment on, other than to say they use the prison reform bill to be able to cite that the Trump administration is really for the people. This is a bill, of course, that does not have sentencing reduction, which everybody knows was a key cornerstone of really talking about reforming the criminal justice system. My last 2 points. As I came in, breaking news. The federal government is in the courthouse saying that they're best friends of the Trump administration. The ACLU, they are prepared now to give dignity to the ACLU and turn over the 500 plus children who have not been reunited. We throw up our hands and we're giving it to the ACLU, a non-governmental entity. Now, I love the ACLU, but they broke it, and the judge said you broke it, and you have the audacity not to fix it. But the ACLU has now become the best friend. Isn't it interesting that those of us in this room who are advocates for justice now become the problem solvers of an administration who wrecks through every time and everything that they do? So, candidates and Democrats, Keith Ellison, who we want to support, I've already said that he is an outstanding lawyer and will do an outstanding job, but he said right here in Texas, with Tahir and Nomi, the bench that you did in 2016, we have the opportunity to enhance that even now. Judge, it's very nice to see you and other judges who are here to be. And I do want to take a chance, not a chance, but an opportunity. She has been steadfastly working. She's been like an energized bunny. And I want her to know that we have been pretty busy. You might be in my district. I just want you to know that we're going to run all the way to the finish line. And that's our next county judge right here. We are grateful for your leadership, and to hear, let me thank you. And I end on this note. There are many people from the diverse community who are in this room. That is a lightning change from 30 years ago in the Democratic Party. We have much to be proud of. And each of you who are standing here have no less a space than Al or Sheila or Claude or Scott, anyone else, that the spaces are now equal. And that means the load and the burden has now been spread. And each of us was given a book of rules and a bag of tools. And Shakespeare said, unto each of us must make a stumbling block or stepping stone. We're now on that pathway. And as I put on my final hat of commentary, Pakistan, for those of you of that heritage, has now opened its doors of enlightenment, and a friend of Dr. Qadir and Tahir, Zaved, Amran Khan, friend of yours, Nomi maybe, but someone who I've known was a cricket player who's been back and forth to the United States, may have an opportunity to respond to the growing energy of youth in Pakistan and the work of Pakistani Americans and become the leader of government. Things are happening that are good around the world. Can anything less good happen in Texas, Carl Davis, and in the nation? And so the blue wave, however it is carried, has to be carried by you. I wish for each and every one of us, as we support Keith Ellison and all of you as elected and candidates, to be stepping stones for goodness and greatness and an America that loves us all. God bless all of you.